Now for our final session of the day, programmatic advertising, the future outlook, where Harriet Cunningham, UK Sales Director at Scibids, will lead a panel of experts as they explore the big topics and themes we should be focusing on today and look at innovations and what's next for programmatic advertising. Over to you, Harriet. My mistake. Changing the script. Over to you, Elisa.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'll start again. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the fantastic panels so far this morning. And yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Over the next sort of 30 minutes, we'll be discussing the future outlook of programmatic, and the five of us will explore the topics and themes that we should really be focusing on as an industry, and look at the innovations and what's really next for programmatic advertising to ensure a sustainable future. As Nick said, my name's Harriet. I'm the UK Sales Director today, and I'm joined by four sort of wonderful industry professionals. But we shall dive straight into it with our first question. Programmatic advertising is currently going through a significant change with the depreciation of the third-party cookie and the demand for improvement around measurement and attention. So I'm really keen to hear what everyone's thoughts are on the number one challenge that we face as an industry. So yeah, Elsa, we'll start with you.
Yes, absolutely. So hi everyone. I'm Elsa Demain-Griffiths, and I am the Director of Digital Sales and Innovation here at the Telegraph. So yeah, so with the deprecation of third-party cookies just over the horizon for Chrome anyway, we know that this is already a reality for all of the other major browsers. I would say that things for the open web look relatively uncertain as things currently stand, with around half of the open web in the UK almost pretty much invisible via traditional cookie-based targeting. And prior to Google pushing back their deadline for Chrome, I had hoped and I had thought that the market was starting to prioritize innovation. However, I think sadly a lot of the industry have simply gone back to their old ways of doing business, waiting for a silver bullet perhaps to materialize, which I can't necessarily see happening anytime soon. And a lot of the proposed solutions need really the vast majority of media owners on board, and with publishers being far more aware of the value of our own data, I believe hopefully it's going to force the right kind of change. And one of those most obvious shifts, I think, will be back to quality contextual by valuing the environment in the right way, in the short term anyway, as the industry works out how to deploy their data strategies in market at scale. And I guess I just want to say, though, this being said, now really is the time for premium publishers to pause, to reset, and also to create a new programmatic landscape which actually really values premium regulated journalism in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think excellent points there in terms of the number one challenge we've got. Perhaps you can.
Yes, hi everyone. I guess I'll give a quick intro as well. My name is Artur. I'm Director of Product Innovation at Xaxis EMEA. We're looking after programmatic around video, audio, digital, and emerging channels. So in terms of the main challenges, I think I just gonna echo what Elsa mentioned as well. In general, the kind of a depreciation of third-party cookies, I think everyone can agree that this is the kind of the main topic. Just listening to all the panels and previous conversations that happened today, it was touched on to some level, to some degree. So definitely one of the key challenges for the upcoming 12 months that we need to be addressed. And we need to be testing alternative targeting strategies, for example. I think what Elsa mentioned, it's important to recognize that a lot of channels within programmatic don't rely on cookies already. Just a few panels before us, we heard about the CTV, and the third-party cookie is not applicable for that. Audio is another example where it's not the case. So it's not going to affect all the channels to the same level, but it will have an impact in general in our practices and how we used to do programmatic, or the established way of doing programmatic that has been established for now years. I think there are multiple kind of solutions that are available to test, but important aspect to also keep in mind that when testing those solutions is it needs to be scalable. to the same level to achieve some kind of a parity of what we can achieve right now, and ideally something that can be used across different formats and channels at the same time. I think there is also a challenge of maintaining the accuracy of all these different alternative targeting solutions, for example, especially important when we talk about retargeting capabilities, and just from pure frequency management perspective, the accuracy of those targeting is very important. But I also want to mention is from the number one challenges, I think it's critical to look into the measurement capabilities. Targeting, of course, is only valuable if it brings return, and if we can't properly measure the value that it adds, it's difficult to assess even all of these alternative solutions that we're trying to test. Both targeting and measurement, I think, needs to go hand in hand, and they both have challenges and that need to be addressed in the upcoming 12 months. But if I need to pick one, I think measurement is going to be key to go forward.
Absolutely, and I think that's top of sort of brands and agencies thought path too. Guillaume, I'm keen to hear from you. Obviously, coming from a sort of header bidding background, I imagine your vision on the challenges may be a little different.
Yeah, thanks, Harriet. Hi, everybody. I'm Guillaume. As you can hear with my accent coming from France, I've been head of sales at Yieldlove for the past 6 years, and I'm overseeing our publisher acquisition growth on the Western European markets. Just Yieldlove in a few words, we help web and app publishers to enhance their ad stack and better monetize their ad inventory. So our core solution is based on heading for web, AMP, in-app environments. And yeah, so obviously, I can only also echo what Elsa and Artur have been saying. This is the biggest challenge the industry is going to face in the next 12 months. I think there's definitely, again, an issue with that needs to be addressed, right? Where the human experience should already, with third-party cookies, be a priority, but the end of third-party cookies becomes an absolute. So us, as a programmatic tech provider, I would say, we also play a crucial role to help enrich the data and bridge the addressability gap, I would say, that has developed over the years between advertisers and consumers. So the technology to support and facilitate this data enrichment process already exists, and we use a lot of alternative identity solutions like ID5, Shared ID, Ramp ID, and so on, which are pre-bid compatible. I would say the thing is that first, there are still a lot of IDs existing out there, and they do not all get 100% consensus across all the programmatic supply chain. So I think right now the current best strategy is to use most of those modules and tools, right, not to miss out on any opportunity until more universal is used. If I can say maybe another quick challenge, because I think this is most what we'll be focusing on today, but I think we also need to shed some light on some often overlooked issue, which is the page performance. So this time focusing on the publisher. It has become increasingly difficult over the past years, let's say, for publishers to find the right balance between page performance and ad performance and navigate through regulations that are getting stricter by the day. If you go back a few years, basically, maximizing revenue was the main drive for publishers that were offering access-free content, let's say, but sometimes too often to the detriment of the quality of the content and the user experience, right? So it was mostly about running more ads to get more revenue. Then what happened, what should have happened, basically, Google has been having a pretty a stricter approach on the SEO front and have penalized massively publishers with most impactful updates on their search engine algorithm, right? Mostly to go after black hat SEO practices, and as well with the core web vitals, which are like a set of specific factors that will evaluate the overall user experience on the website, like speed, responsiveness, visual stability of the website. And basically what happened is like now user acquisition is much more costly than user retention. So now publishers are much more working on trying to find the right balance. And that definitely is a challenge, right? Between, again, the page performance, the way the website is working, and how they monetize their audience. So I would say that as a tech provider, our role as Yieldlove is double. Make sure to still provide state-of-the-art technology that has limited impact on the client side, but still generate great profit for publishers. And next to that, educate and stress how important it is for publishers to resist the temptation to think more ads mean more revenue, and instead show them how they can reap the benefits from finding the right balance, again, between page and ad performance.
And I think it's a good point, isn't it? Thinking ahead to what's coming next rather than chasing that short-term goal. Thanks very much, Guillaume. Moving on to you, Ionut.
Hi, thanks, Harriet. Hi, everyone. My name is Ionut. I'm the co-CEO of Verve Group. We're a vertically integrated ad platform working across, let's say, the omnichannel user journey. So we work in mobile, in web, and CTV that were mentioned already before. So coming back to the topic and the question and the challenges, I want to start with the addressability, but then as the conversation went on, I'm thinking ad effectiveness is probably how I would put everything together. We need to make sure that in the new world order, our ad experiences and our results match the old world in a certain way, right? Meaning we want engagement, we want ROAS, we want other KPIs to continue to match what we've been used to, and we need to work with the technologies that are available out there and test and iterate and collaborate. I think that's my key point there. And actually, we've seen it, right? In the last 1 year, 2 years since, let's say, the cookies start has been talked about being deprecated. There's new ideas coming into the market. There's a lot more collaboration than we've seen in the past. The learnings are being shared. So yeah, I think what we're trying to do is make sure we maintain the same level of ad effectiveness as we go through this. And I think Artur mentioned it's not only about cookies, which is an important one, but on iOS, we had ATT already for 1 year and more, and the other channels are even more fragmented, right? So the challenges of ad effectiveness are across, let's say, across channels, and we need to solve from them with, yeah, better and new tools that are more tailored to the, let's call it, new world order, new privacy and regulation world order.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, there's lots of commonalities between your sort of number one challenges positioned there from all kind of sides of the market. So moving on to our next question. So what about our sort of number one opportunity? What should we be making a priority together across the industry? Guillaume, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we also there need to take a step back and focus something that might seem, again, overlooked, but I would say it's all about building trust. I think first, opportunities and challenges are two sides of the same coin, right? So with the transition to first-party data world, I think there's a massive opportunity for us to address this lack of trust that's had for long characterized the third-party cookie or data era, basically. The trust issues, I would say, for both users and publishers. So users are often still today experiencing very poor ad experience, bad quality ad fraud, malvertising, redirects, etc. The list is long. And that eventually leads to an increase year over year of adblock usage, right? Over 30% in average are using adblock, which is a real issue again for any kind of publishers. And then the second, I would say, is for users, the data protection concern approach, right? Today, with third parties, there's definitely a lack of control, transparency over how their personal data is used, shared with whom, used by whom, and obviously first party will go a long way in addressing this issue. So to counter that, I would say publishers should try to elevate somehow the user experience by building trust, right? Let users experience value in exchange for their consent, give them control over their own data, be ethical, transparent, and this will naturally increase the amount of data they will get, and with it possibly to create strategies at scale. Now I would say publishers also have trust issues, and this time with ad tech providers like Yieldlove, basically, because on the tech side, I definitely think some consolidation needs to happen, and this is also a massive opportunity. I would say today, publishers are flooded with unsolicited prospection from ad tech companies wanting to have a piece of the cake, let's say. For instance, out of 10 companies, 10 solicitations, probably one will actually be competent, reliable, and have an honest approach, I would say. So there's still an opaque cloud around the supply, I would say, making it very hard for publishers to commit without having second, triple thoughts, basically. So I would say it's definitely an opportunity for us to bring more transparency as well on this.
Yeah, absolutely. You've teed why not perfectly there. I'll pass over.
Sorry, was that for me, Harriet? Yeah, so I guess I can only talk from our experience as a publisher, which tees up quite nicely, doesn't it? But our strategy is really what sets us apart here at the Telegraph. So this is the company-wide focus on providing the very best subscriber experience in everything that we do, as we strive to achieve the 1 million paying subscribers by 2023. And so thanks to our subscriber strategy, which we put into effect around 3 to 4 years ago, now we are effectively a data business. We have over 7 million registered customers and just under 745,000 subscribers. And these are paying customers, of which the majority are digital. And thanks to our unique customer IDs, we can now understand these people, because they are people, across their devices, we can target without relying on cookies. So a huge opportunity, at least around this challenge of data in general, is from our perspective and from my perspective, is the adoption of clean room based technologies in a safe and very compliant manner. So this is a safe way typically for advertisers, agencies and publishers to answer the challenges around the cookie deprecation across, and I think we've mentioned this throughout the chat so far, but across targeting, across measurement, across frequency, capping, and so on as well. It does obviously require a bit of work on all sides to get us to a point where this will work at scale. However, we really do need our brands and our agency partners to invest in testing these solutions to push that conversation forward even further. We personally have invested in the area, and we work with a partner called InfoSum that powers the data matching product, of which we've called Unity here at the Telegraph. And we've seen some really fantastic brand uplift results for advertisers that really exceed not only market benchmarks, but actually our own traditional digital performance as well. So that for me is one of the key opportunities coming up.
Yeah, that's a fair one, and certainly something we feel too, Elsa. Artur, obviously you're deeply ingrained in the Group M agencies, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, and I guess thinking from the agencies and clients' perspective about the priorities and opportunities, again, I can only reference the previous question. So with deprecation of third-party cookies, what we should be focusing on, and it's mainly just testing all the different alternative targeting measurement capabilities now. Obviously, from priority point of view, just to get ready for the time when third-party cookie is going to be deprecated, but also as an opportunity, it's possible to extract value from this type of the targeting right now. Again, something that we talked about in terms of reference of some other formats. The channels don't rely on cookieless at the moment. By testing these alternative options right now, you can extract value by running campaigns on browsers that don't support this, or restrict the third-party cookies by running campaigns on CTV, and trying those new targeting options by running audio campaigns as well. So it's not just preparing for the foreseeable future, but also something that can be extracted as a value right now. So I think this is, from my perspective, I think this should be a priority, and at the same time, an opportunity as well. In the future, it's possible that we'll have to rely on different providers and different solutions, and different clients will have different needs. Not necessarily that there's going to be one solution that's applicable to everyone. So individual clients will need to assess based on their marketing strategy, based on the formats and channels that they're using, what is the most applicable one, and potentially they will need to use separate ones for different activations. But then we'll have to think, how do we connect everything together while we're going through this transition period? So I guess as a short answer, testing and learning is probably should be a priority, and at the same time opportunity in the short term and in the long term.
Yeah, exactly that. Testing as many opportunities as we can, and understanding what's going to work for our consumers and brands alike. Ionut, over to you. I know that you've got some thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I have actually an easy example for where to start testing it, as Artur mentioned, right? We have iOS, we have Safari. I think Elsa mentioned in the UK, 50% of the users are invisible, so to say, to the third-party cookie. So I think it's an easy place to start, an easy place to start learning, leveraging first-party data to optimize and iterate on those learnings. And when the cookie crumbles, so to speak, you already have a position in the market, either as a publisher, but also as an agency or brand, and you can double down on that and actually even take market share or share of mind in the, let's say, year to come. So I would double down on that, and it's easy. It's already there. Prices are a bit lower than on the other let's say browsers. Yeah, and the tools are there. Yes, it will take a bit of work, and there's quite a bit of iteration. So there's an investment for sure, but yeah, I think it's how do you say, it's an investment that will pan out.
Exactly that, investments into sort of getting started on innovation so that we can have a sort of sustained future in that way. So we've got a couple of questions to go, 5 minutes. The next one is really around innovation. So which sort of innovation is really going to drive our industry forward? Elsa, I'll start with you.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I think, yeah, from my perspective, perhaps maybe a mixed model of advertising and subscriptions will become ever more prevalent. And if there is a sustainable model in that mix, whereby the subscription data can feed the advertising products with declared, consented, and unique data. And I think that the companies that can support this very specific model in a very privacy compliant way will really benefit.
Great. Thank you, Elsa. I'll actually come back to you in terms of innovations.
Sure, I might be a bit biased as we have a strong background store footprint in mobile in-app, but we believe strongly on device processing and actually not storing the data, and even for measurement, both for targeting and measurement, running things on device, iterating and improving, and not leaking any data outside, neither into the bit stream or anywhere else, not even on the device itself or in the app itself. So that would be the first one. The lighter version of that would be obviously contextual, where you don't run it on the device, but you use the signals that you have available to improve your ad effectiveness as much as you can. So those would be the two ones.
Yeah, exactly. And Arthur, I imagine it's going to be your teams that will be testing lots of those contextual innovations. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, when it comes to innovation, I'm thinking about this question a bit more broadly from the industry perspective. And I'm going to put a little bit of a Xaxis hat here as well when answering this. I think AI and machine learning has a much bigger role to play going forward in driving the whole industry forward. We know it proved to be very successful on the media buying side in programmatic. I would say developed and matured in programmatic at the moment, but I think it has a much wider application going forward across other parts of the industry, including planning, reporting, and measurement. And could be actually as a linchpin to connect quite fragmented landscape that we are operating. Again, when we speak about the data, the privacy, the upcoming changes, AI can help us to utilize the data sets that we have at our disposal with deterministic or probabilistic approach to maximize the effectiveness of usage of this data that's going to be available and might be restricted in some cases. So I think from the cookieless and privacy focused perspective, I think AI should be on the top of the list of driving the future and growth of programmatic, especially as programmatic expands to new emerging channels. There's going to be potentially new data points that we can utilize, not just for those specific new channels, but also those channels can fuel the decisioning across the entire ecosystem. And I can see that the AI potentially can connect all of the disconnected platforms and reduce some of the fragmentation, especially for more complex omni-channel strategies when multiple channels or formats are involved. I think machine learning is going to be a critical part to connect and simplify the complexity that we have to operate, and especially with coming up changes in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, here at Scibids, we have a similar vision. There's lots of data. There's going to be lots of things that will change. And, knowing our industry, those changes can sometimes happen quite literally overnight. So having a solid AI tool to help you test and learn quickly is going to be more important than ever. Thanks for that. And Guillaume, over to you. What innovations do you think that are really going to drive our industry?
Yeah, I think so from a cookieless perspective, I think I can really echo what my colleague said here. I laugh when you guys mention testing, because I think A/B testing is actually our middle name, because I think every day there are new technologies emerging, and from a publisher's perspective, we are responsible for the way they monetize our website. So they don't care about cookieless, contentless, and all of this. So we are tasked with constantly A/B testing all the solutions existing out there to improve the overall performance, whether it's based on AI, machine learning, alternative ID solutions, contextual-based solutions, or perhaps also increase a bit more the use of curated marketplaces. But I think as an overall industry, and I want to risk myself now to say some words that might be a bit scary, when it comes to digital immersive advertising, right, with metaverse, augmented reality, virtual reality, perhaps, so this has been going on, already existing for a few years, but perhaps this is the emergence, I would say, of a new reliable programmatic advertising channel. So right now, we are really, I think, on the verge of a technological disruption, right, with Web3 as well. So again, metaverse, AR, VR, and that will likely play a big role, I think, within 5 to 10 years in reshaping the whole programmatic supply chain, basically, especially world where first-party data will be king. Concretely, by combining physical, real, and numeral and virtual, real worlds, and virtual worlds, brands and retailers can really create a whole new or unprecedented customer experience. So I would say already now, this whole virtual world is set to be the intersection of entertainment industries, gaming, shopping, community, and already counts hundreds of millions of active users. So if we look at the market value, I think this year it's planned to be like roughly 40 billion USD. If we look at 2030, it's going to be almost 700 billion. It's hard to ignore those numbers. Of course, like for every technological breakthrough, it will be met with a lot of skepticism, right? Many questions are yet to be answered. Will it be really decentralized? Will it be safe for my data? Will it have any impact on the mental health and so on? But definitely the industry will have to go through significant technological changes where buying, like tools to buy and sell programmatic inventory will have to be adapted, and how will have to be built so that brands can really engage in a more meaningful way with their consumers. So I would say, to wrap it up, it's still a long and bumpy road on this front, but it will highly rely on AI. So yeah, Artur, I'm looking at you right now, and machine learning basically, and combined with first-party data. And if all works, basically, it will really become a reliable additional channel, I would say, for buyers to optimize really their omnichannel strategy and yeah, to improve the overall, I would say, added value in the whole programmatic supply chain.
Yeah, lots of innovation needed for some fast changes, and looking ahead to 10 years to how different our sort of industry landscape will really look like.
Have hologram ads, perhaps.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, as long as it's not in my house, I'm okay with that. That leads us nicely on to what will have to be our sort of final question for today. So how can we ensure a sustainable future for programmatic advertising? And a couple of different takes on this. We'll start with you.
Sure. The way I understood this one is more about how we can make sure that our industry will exist in 10 years or 100 years. And if I'm looking from that perspective, I think the first thing I'm thinking of is the consumer and what their needs are for premium and proper content, right? That needs to be that needs to be based on a sustainable business model. As I said, subscription advertising. And if I'm thinking about advertising, the ad experience should be personalized, should be relevant, should be clean, right, of spam and all of the other things. So I think we need to do as good of a job there as we can, basically the best job that we can to ensure that the consumer experience is great, both from an advertiser and publisher perspective. And we as technologists, I guess that's our job to ensure that this gets done. And that's, from my point of view, what will ensure a sustainable future for sustainable and how do you say, thriving future for our industry.
Absolutely, and keeping that focus on the consumer so we get people keeping coming to the internet. Elsa, I'll move on to you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think this comes down to two very separate considerations, and I really love the earlier panel as well, because I think the first, it is really investment in people, and more specifically in DNA diversity, as I think we all know has been shown to drive team performance across every single area. So if we're thinking around problem solving, around innovation, transformation, productivity, resilience, and the list goes on. And a study that McKinsey did relatively recently noted that diverse teams are 36% more likely to financially outperform non-diverse teams. I think these companies I'm going to mention now were called out earlier as well, but I would really encourage everyone to look at DigiLearning, to look at Brixton Finishing School, and many other companies out there who are leading the way and disrupting the creative advertising tech industries in the way in which we all recruit talent, because it really is important, and it's going to change and shape the future. And then secondly, second consideration is, I think, committing to working with more sustainable technologies. So digital advertising is quite horrifyingly a major contributor to carbon emissions around the globe. The internet, obviously, including the wonderful world of programmatic and the systems used to support this medium, has, would you believe it, a larger carbon footprint than the airline industry, which is why the UK ad industry last year launched AdNet Zero. And this initiative has been backed by the AA, it's been backed by the IPA, it's been backed by ISBA, of course, the IAB, I think also too, to make Adland carbon neutral by 2030. And I can proudly say that the Telegraph joined the initiative back in 2021 to reduce our own carbon footprint by 2030 as well. So a long answer there, but yeah, I guess within the themes of investment in people and also a consideration in more sustainable ways that the industry can operate in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elsa. In our final few minutes, Guillaume, I'll bounce to you for the same question. How can we ensure a sustainable future for programmatic advertising?
So same as Elsa here, actually, for the second part at least, I totally agree with the diversity as well, but I really understood this word as in a more eco-friendly way and with a really target to reach at net zero by the end of the decade. As a tech provider, I think together with the publishers, we have a lot of responsibility in making that happen. So I would say first point would be to help reduce the ad spend waste, and notably by enriching the data. We just talked all the possibilities that exist out there to help doing that. To give you an idea, today we estimate that 30 to 40% of the total advertising spend is wasted. So wasted means like users never saw the ad actually that were paid for and so on, and it's just staggering to me. I think like over 50% or 50% of the ads are actually not viewed, which is crazy when you think about it. Ad spend waste, I would say, then fights a lot ad fraud, like pixel stuffing, ad stacking, bot clicks and so on. So I think all of that improves drastically, impact drastically the viewability, and it's like hundreds of millions of dollars are burned every day just because of that. And yes, I would say last but not least, definitely reducing server usage and cost. So our role would be to really constantly look to optimize the demand pool, talking about header bidding, reduce the amount of partners we work with, really down to still generate a lot of profit, right? But really reduce that, and as well help publishers optimize their ad layout. You don't need to run 10 ads on your website. You don't need to call them all at the same time. There are a lot of techniques like lazy loading, etc., that allow you to really reduce those. So I think, yes, it's really in this what I had in mind with the word sustainable.
Great. Thank you, Guillaume. All right, Arthur, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to give you a quick 30 seconds on, what's going to drive a sustainable future so we can...
30 seconds. I think to maintain the growth and success of programmatic, the most key important aspect that we need to focus on is attracting and upskilling the talent. It's a massive challenge, and given the challenges that we have to face or have to address, we need to focus on that, attracting right talent with the right skills, but also upskilling the current talent of all the changes that are happening, how it's going to affect and what needs to be done across all the different aspects of our business and industry. So that's a quick answer.
Great. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. I think everyone, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and opinions today. There's certainly been lots of synergies across it. Main themes: trust, education, testing, third-party cookies, and importantly, keeping our collaboration and innovation as a collective unit for the industry to ensure we have a sustainable future. Thank you very much. I'll hand back over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Harriet, and thank you to all the panelists. Lots of exciting things for us to be focusing on. Collaboration and cooperation will be key, obviously, as we look to secure a sustainable and an innovative future for programmatic. As without these, we'll not, we will not be able to drive our industry to the new heights. We're almost at the end of our H1 2022 virtual programmatic day, and what an event it's been. We've had huge numbers tuning in to the event today, which is just incredible. I'd also like to thank our sponsors of the event, so Quantcast, Yieldlove. We'd not be able to put on these events, obviously, without your valuable support. Thank you so much for that. I'd also like to thank all of our panelists and moderators and keynote speakers for giving up their time, sharing their knowledge. I've learned so much today. It's been a really good experience, and so many views on important topics have been discussed and debated. I'm sure many of our attendees will have taken an idea or three away on how to improve their own businesses. I'd also like to thank Lauren Wakefield, Marie-Claire Puffett, and Georgia Cook from IAB Europe for putting together and delivering yet another very great and successful VPD. The event recordings are actually going to be available on the IAB Europe website over the next few days, so please keep an eye out for that. And IAB Europe also has obviously tons of other resources related to programmatic, from white papers and guides to one-on-one videos. So do check out the Knowledge Hub on www.iabeurope.eu. The next VPD will be taking place in November later this year, so be sure to keep an eye out for more information. And if you did enjoy the event, you're in luck, because IAB Europe has more great events coming up through 2022, including our flagship event, here we go, Interact 2022, where we're excited to meet everyone in person once more in sunny Madrid. That will be running on the 25th and the 26th of May. Interact is a must-attend event for the digital advertising and marketing industry, with a central theme driving the next digital decade. We will have full coverage of key topics on the agenda. So we look to address and drive the digital advertising ecosystem forward. So from the attention economy, CTV, retail media, through to premium publisher advertising models, sustainability, the latest policy and regulatory developments and more. We're going to dive deep into the next year of digital advertising. So for more information on confirmed speakers, the agenda, and how to secure your early bird tickets, check out the link in the chat box, although they won't be so early bird because it's only a couple of weeks away. And as mentioned at the beginning of the event, all of our speakers are from IAB Europe member companies. So if you do want to find out more about membership, please contact Lauren, Marie-Claire or Georgia, whose details have just flashed up on the screen. And finally, thank you to all of you, the attendees, for tuning in. And without your support and interest, we wouldn't have a VPD. So thank you one last time, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your days.